The pain now is part of the happiness then. That's the deal. To deny the loss is to deny the love. From C.S. Lewis on grief. Hello guys. So today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different because tomorrow is the anniversary of the passing of my sister. And for those of you who have seen the story on my channel, I'll link it below. I made a video a couple years ago just telling the story of how she passed away. It's no secret she passed away from an overdose, a heroin overdose, and she had struggled for a long time. She had been in and out of rehabs, and our family dealt with the very, very difficult struggles of addiction, trying to support her through it, and she lost her battle. And I'll just say this. There have been thousands of comments on that video, and if yours was one of them, I tried desperately to keep up with all of them and just respond, but it's not an isolated story. There's a lot of people suffering from that, and I'm so sorry for your pain and your losses. And I've had a lot of people ask me if I'm okay. After viewing it, am I okay now? And so today, I wanted to touch briefly upon grief. The thing is, grief comes and goes in waves, and I don't think it'll ever really leave me. I'm 8 years out now, and there's no time limit or time frame from when you're supposed to get over it. I think our grief, in a way, acknowledges that we loved the person very much, and that they held a very special place in our heart. And while most of my days, I'll be honest, I can go on and function, and I don't really have like major thoughts of it or sadness, my sister is always with me. And that's the funny thing about grief, it keeps surprising you. You'll bump into something and it will remind you of the person, or you'll have a memory and the grief will, well back up. Or I will experience something really, really beautiful, like holding my son. Sorry, trying to get through this. Holding my son right now, and I miss her. I miss my sister because I know as his aunt, she would have loved him, and she was alive when my first child was born, and she held my baby so tightly and sweetly. And so those are precious, precious memories that I hold on to of my sister. And so when you ask if I'm okay, yes, I am okay. God has comforted me in more ways than I can possibly even explain to you guys, through strangers, through loved ones, through so many ways. And our family, we are okay. We function, we go about our lives, but we will never stop missing our May. That's my nickname for her. And we're never 100% okay, but we're changed. When you bump up against grief, it will change you in ways you would have never anticipated. It's made me more sensitive to the needs of others. When I see someone else hurting or in pain, or hear of someone that has lost a loved one, now I want to be the first one to run to them and offer them help or support. Or the one thing I learned in this process was how to sit Shiva. And I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's a concept in the Bible. In the book of Job, when he was going through so much suffering, he had lost all of his children, his home, all of his livelihood. He had even lost his health. He caught a disease. and his wife was telling him to curse God and die. But through all of it, he kept honoring God. Even though life was so terrible, he kept believing and having faith. And in that turmoil, his friends came to him and gave him very, very bad advice. They had all kinds of bad things to say because they didn't understand suffering or the why. They assumed he must have sinned or done something to deserve it. And there's a lot of misconceptions about suffering. But God praised his friends who were able to sit Shiva with Job, meaning just sit and maybe sometimes don't say anything at all. Just take in the grief of it, sit next to him. In those days, they would clothe themselves with a very rough material called sackcloth. And then they would put ashes on their forehead to show mourning. And so it praised the friends who could sit with him in that same sackcloth and put those ashes on their forehead and mourn with him. Because sometimes when somebody has lost someone, they don't need more advice. They don't need, it's gonna be okay, or I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, or God never gives you anything you can't handle. All of which, that right there is false. That's not biblical. In fact, God gives us many things more than we can handle because we need to turn to him to help handle them. So I just wanted to point out that tomorrow's her anniversary. I won't be filming tomorrow. I'm gonna go with my mom, probably to her grave and remember her. And I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna go through this box. So I've mentioned it before in my grief videos. When I lost my sister, my women's group brought me this beautiful box, and it meant the world to me because that group drove from very far away. I had moved when I lost her, and they all drove up to be with me, that presence thing. They surrounded me, hugged me, covered me in prayer, and handed me this to put my letters and mementos and memories of my sister in. And so every year on her anniversary of her death, I like to reflect and I like to open this box and go through that. And then at the end of this month, I'll kind of check back in with you guys, but it would have been her birthday. Her birthday is on February 27th, and we always like to give back to, we have a local place that helps those in recovery from addiction, and we go there and we celebrate her birthday with them by donating a lot of backpacks from our Butterfly Backpacks program, and we also often take the women in recovery cupcakes, and we just tell Megan's story and just love on them. So our family will be doing that a little bit later this month, and that's how we remember our loved one. And you know what? We're okay, but we're not okay, but we are okay. For those who have wanted to check in and know, and we so appreciate your prayers. And I think even 25 years from now, I will still have memories that trickle in that's gonna make me smile, but also shed a tear. And that's okay, because that's grief. And it doesn't have any one set way. There's no magic formula. It is just the outpouring of your heart and soul because somebody poured into it. Somebody was a part of your life that you cared about. Yeah. And I'm gonna sit here in some silence today, and I'm gonna have a lot of grace on myself, and I'm just gonna think about my sister. Thank you guys for watching. I love you all. And thank you for joining me today for just a moment to remember my Maymay on my channel, Life in Lilacs. I'll see you guys on Thursday.